Before we start our pilgrim experience, I thought it'd be good just to talk a little bit about the meaning of the message of Our Lady of Guadalupe. My name is Father Tim Oudenhoven. I'm a priest of the Diocese of La Crosse in Wisconsin. I'm also director of the Marian Messengers, an apostolate dedicated to promoting Our Lady of Guadalupe in the United States. I've had the honor of working a lot with Our Lady of Guadalupe over the past 16 years of ministry. In fact, I'm one of 6 photographers in 80 years who have been able to photograph the actual image in Mexico, getting right up close to her. I've also been privileged to do a doctorate on the message of Our Lady of Guadalupe and her meaning for us today. And I'm also part of the Guadalupan College of Scholars in Mexico City. It's a great honor to be with all of you today. Before we start, though, let's talk about Mary. Mary first appeared in Mexico on Saturday morning, December 9th, 1531. Now, 10 years before that was the completion of the conquest by Hernan Cortez and the conquistadors. Those 10 years were some of the darkest in human history, where a majority percentage of the population of indigenous died of European diseases, and those who didn't die were utterly crushed, abused, and enslaved. It was so bad that 2 years before the apparitions in 1529, the first bishop of Mexico City, Bishop Juan de Zumárraga, was leading a Corpus Christi procession in defiance of the atrocities when the governor of Mexico City, Niño Guzman, threw his spear at Zumárraga, trying to assassinate him in broad daylight, the spear just barely missing the bishop. It was from this experience that Bishop Zumárraga wrote a secret letter to the King of Spain saying, "Unless the hand of God directly intervenes in Mexico, everything is lost." 2 years later, Mary responded to her bishop's plea, making an absolutely impossible situation more than possible. So that Saturday morning, December 9th, 1531, Juan Diego lived north of town with his uncle Juan Bernardino. He would have walked along the banks of an inland lake, which is now all filled in, it's all Mexico City, went past Tepeyac Hill, and then walked across about a half-mile bridge to get onto the island city where the bishop and the church was that had been Tenochtitlan, the Aztec imperial city. That morning as Juan Diego was walking, the sun was just beginning to rise behind Tepeyac Hill. Then all of a sudden he heard beautiful music, like all of creation was singing praises to God. The music was so beautiful that Juan Diego thought he had died and gone to heaven. But then the music stopped as suddenly as it had started, and Juan Diego heard a voice from on Tepeyac calling him, "Juan Diego, Juan Dieguito." Juan Diego climbed up the little hill and saw Mary appearing there, looking just like she does in her beloved image that would later appear on Juan Diego's cloak on his tilma. Mary's heartbeat was sending out waves of light, waves of love, of new creation that was completely transforming the barren, rocky, thorny, sandy hill of Tepeyac into a new garden paradise filled with life and love. Juan Diego fell prostrate at the sight. And Mary basically said 3 things to Juan Diego that first morning. First, "I am Mary, the Mother of God." Quite helpful when you think about it. 2, how she wanted a new church to be built on Tepeyac Hill. In fact, Mary elaborated more in her message. She said this, "I am truly your compassionate mother, yours of all the people who live together in this land, and of all the people of different ancestries." You see, Mary wanted this new church to be a place of reconciliation between all the races of people. In fact, you go around the United States, all of our towns are scarred by the fact that we couldn't get along 100-some years ago. You got the German church, the Irish church, the French church, the Bohemian church, all within a stone's throw of each other. I think they used to literally throw stones at each other. But these days, we need to come together as we look to the ways that God calls us to grow in the faith. Mary wants peace and unity, but she went a step farther. In fact, the name Guadalupe is not a location. You know, every other Marian apparition is known by the location where Mary appeared. Hence, Our Lady of Champion, Wisconsin. Our Lady of Lourdes, France. Our Lady of Fatima, Portugal. But Guadalupe, as I mentioned, is a title that Mary gave to herself. Guadalupe is actually an Arabic word. And in Arabic, Muslim, it literally means the rocks of the riverbed. That Mary is the rocks of the riverbed from which the life-giving water Jesus flowed through. It is a title for Mary's womb, that Mary is truly the mother of our salvation, the spring of salvation, if you will. And why is it Arabic? Because Mary wants all of her children to come together, all the descendants of Abraham. But she continues. She says that this church will be for those who love me, those who cry to me, those who seek me, those who trust in me. We have 4 verbs here: love, cry, seek, and trust. In Mama Mary's message at Tepeyac, there's all these wonderful lists of words like this. Now, this one talks about what Mary sees the church being for. But at first glance, it seems like they're out of the wrong order. I mean, isn't love the highest of the gifts? Why is love first and not last? Doesn't it make more sense, cry, seek, trust, then love? But love is first because Mama Mary and Jesus always love us first. Without their love, we can do nothing. Remember when I was a young deacon studying to be a priest, I was blessed to work in a hospital for a summer as a chaplain for my CPE training. One of my units was a NICU, with all the tiny little babies. I also had pediatrics. Playtime with Deacon Tim was epic at 2 p.m. But in the NICU, I was told in the orientation that the most important thing I would do there was to hold and love these tiny little babies, to pray with them. Because if a baby doesn't know they're loved, they will not cry. And if they do not cry, they will not heal. Only babies who know they're loved cry out, because they know someone loving will hear them and respond. This is why, as a parish priest, I don't mind when babies cry in Mass. Not only is it a sign that they are loved by their parents, they think the whole parish loves them. And how wonderful that is. We too, though, when we know that we are loved, we are able to cry out our pain as well. But the devil's always trying to do a sham job on us, convince us that we're not loved, or that somehow God is distant or cruel or unusual, or because you did these bad things in the past, God doesn't love you anymore. Or you have to do all these impossible things perfectly in order to get God's love back. The devil doesn't want us to know how much we are loved. But it's when we know that we are loved, we cry out. We give our pain over to God. We wrestle through all the doubts and skepticism that comes from suffering and pain. We're able to get answer to those why questions from God's perspective. And in this healing, we gain the strength to start to seek, seeking God. It's not just me and Jesus like some Protestants say. No, it's us together as church, growing in our relationship of one another. And in these experiences, we begin to trust one another. Isn't it interesting that the most important people in our lives are the ones that we've had the most experiences with? So too in the church. We're called to be spiritual family, growing in experience in the practice of the faith together, that we begin to trust one another and come to trust in God. Now here's the thing. Remember what the word for faith in Latin means. Fidei literally means trust in action. Meaning you can't have faith in someone you don't have trust in. But you can't have trust without that experience of seeking and practicing the faith together as a spiritual family. Without being healed from our crying, from our pain. Without knowing that we are always loved first. Isn't this a beautiful vision of the church? I think so often we forget that. So Mary basically said 3 things to Juan Diego that first morning. I'm Mary, the Mother of God. I want a church built here on Tepeyac. And 3, I want you, Juan Diego, to go to the bishop and tell him how I want a church, so he'll build it for me. Now, Juan Diego went twice, on Saturday and on Sunday. Both times really wasn't believed. In fact, on Sunday, the bishop even asked Juan Diego for a miracle to prove it. Juan Diego came back to Mary, asking for the miracle. And Mary said, very good, Juan Diego. Come back here tomorrow, Monday, December 11th, and I will give you that miracle for the bishop. But here's the problem. When is the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe? Well, it's December 12th. So what happened? Why is it December 11th the miracle's coming? Why is the feast day the 12th? Because when Juan Diego went home Sunday night on the 10th, his uncle was deathly ill. All day Monday, Juan Diego stayed home and took care of his uncle who was dying. On Tuesday morning, his uncle woke up and said, Juan Diego, today is my last day to be alive. Please go find me a priest so that I can receive the last rites and have a chance to go to heaven. Juan Diego leaves, but he stops and goes, wait a minute. If I go past Tepeyac Hill, Mary's going to see me. And she's got all these time-consuming things she wants me to do. So instead of going around the front of the hill, Juan Diego went around the back side, doing the only sensible thing, right? Going behind Mary's back. And when he went around the back side, thinking she wouldn't see him, He gets to the bridge, but he looks back just to make sure he was in the clear. When he looks back up, of course, there's Mary, who's been looking at him the whole time. She comes down the backside of the hill. She comes to block his way. She says to him, "My youngest son, what's going on? Where are you headed?" And he grieved a little, or perhaps he became ashamed, became afraid of the situation. He told Mary of his uncle's impending death, but then he said something absolutely incredible. Perhaps the most amazing thing that anyone has ever said to the Mother of God. He said, "Mary, we are born to die. Our lives have no meaning. They have no purpose. There is nothing for us here. We are only awaiting the tribute of our own death." Juan Diego described the deepest, darkest pain of humanity. And how did the Mother of God respond? Well, actually, she said two things. First, she said this: "Listen and put it into your heart, my youngest and dearest one, that the thing that frightened you, the thing that afflicted you is nothing. Do not let it disturb you." You see, there's a big difference in people who live the faith in their heads versus their hearts. Now, it's a goal to live our faith from the heart, experiencing the Lord and knowing his presence in our lives. But how often in our fear we downshift our faith back up to our heads. Think about the two disciples walking to Emmaus in the gospel. They had it all. They heard the teaching. They saw the miracles. They heard Mary Magdalene, Peter, and John. But they still left because they had an intellectual faith. And it wasn't until the Mass, the breaking of the bread, did they finally pay attention to the faith in their hearts, and their hearts that were burning within them, that led them back to Jerusalem and the fullness of faith. We too need to live our faith in our hearts, experiencing the Lord in our daily lives. But then Mary goes on. She says this: "Am I not here, I who have the honor to be your mother?" Now, I'm sure we all know these words and have heard them before. But did you know before today that this is Mary's response to "we are born to die"? That Mary's honor is to be with us in our sufferings and our pains. In fact, she goes on, "Are you not in my shadow and under my protection? Am I not the source of your joy? Are you not in the hollow of my mantle, in the crossing of my arms?" But then she goes a step farther and asks, "Do you need something more?" And see, that's the kicker. Do you need something more? Now, let's be honest. We all know that the correct answer is no. No, we do not need nor want anything more. But that's not the honest answer, is it? Of course we want other things. We love our distractions. We love the tiki-takis and the Facebookies and the Yubi-Tubies. We love all the gossip and drama of the life. We love our temptations, our sins, our vain pursuits of pleasure and possession and power. How many things we put in place of God. How many earthly things that are passing we try to use to fill the heavenly longing that we all have. Mary told Juan Diego that his uncle was already cured back home. Juan Diego believed her and said, "If it's not too late, Mary, can I still take the miracle to the bishop?" Mary said yes, and told him to go up the hill and pick the roses. Now, I might say, roses on top of a hill. What kind of a miracle is that? Well, it's December. Roses don't grow in December. It's also a rocky, thorny, barren, and sandy hill that nothing grows on unless the Mother of God is up there. But the real miracle is this: what kind of roses were they? And don't say red. They were Castilian Spanish roses. See, Mary transported roses from Castile, Spain, and had them growing for the first time ever in Mexico. That's the miracle. And why Castilian Spanish roses? Because the bishop's from Castile, Spain. That's his homeland. He loves these roses. And Mary is giving the perfect sign to the bishop who asked for everything, that the direct intervention from heaven that he sought is now at hand. Juan Diego picks the roses, puts them in his tilma. Mary rearranges them and sends them off to the bishop. Juan Diego tells the bishop everything again, and then he lets go of his tilma. It starts to unroll. The flowers start falling to the ground. Then and there, his tilma becomes a miracle of miracles. Suddenly, instantly, poof, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe appears on his tilma. The image goes all the way through the fabric. The bishop kneels down, begging Mary's forgiveness for not having believed more quickly. At that moment, everything changed. Before the miracles, thousands, tens of thousands were baptized. Afterwards, 9 million people came into the faith in 15 years, the largest mass conversion in church history. And why? Because they knew of Mary's presence, of her love, and the way she appeared, her message allowed them to understand the faith easily, so much so that they became Catholic. They became the exact religion of the conquistadors who have been oppressing and abusing them. Talk about that one for a reversal. The purpose of this international pilgrimage is that Mary has come to our land so that we can feel here as if we are there in her sacred little house. I don't know how many of you have ever been to Mexico before, to the Basilica, but it's an incredible place, no? You can just see the presence of Mary on every face, every heart. I was just there a couple months ago leading a pilgrimage. We just happened to be there on a random Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Guess how many people were there for Mass at Thursday morning, 10 a.m.? Only 20,000. 40 million people visit the shrine every year. It's one of the most visited places on the planet. And why? Because she's there. The reason we make a pilgrimage is so that we can feel the love of Mama Mary and Jesus, to inspire our daily living, to know that we are never, ever alone, that we are always loved. So in a moment, we'll have the digital experience that comes with the image. We'll hear the words of Mary. We'll have a chance to pray a decade of the Rosary together. And then we'll be able to come and venerate the images you see in front of you. We have 2 replica images, one of a full-size Our Lady of Guadalupe and another painting of Juan Diego. Juan Diego lived the last 17 years of his life teaching everybody about the love of our mother and showing them the image. Both of these images have been touched to the actual miraculous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico that's been on public display for almost 500 years. So these are relic images. Lastly, we have the image of the Mother Pilgrim. This image was first conceived before the canonization Mass in 2002 of St. Juan Diego. It is a 3D replica of the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe on the tilma to give us a sense of what Juan Diego saw that Saturday morning, December 9th, when Mary's love changed everything. One of my favorite details of this image is her eyes. They're always looking down at us. And it's so beautiful to look up at Mary's eyes and just contemplate how Mary always sees us. She's always with us. She is always loving us. Again, we are never, ever alone. I have had the honor to be right up close to the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe many times. And sometimes people ask me, Father Tim, since you've studied and photographed the image so much, what's the best way to look at to see the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe? Here's my best answer. With your eyes closed. Yeah, I know it's the only picture we have of Mary from heaven, but with your eyes closed. Because if you keep your eyes open, you're going to see pictures and a statue. If you close your eyes and open up your hearts, that's when you truly feel and experience the personal gift that Mama Mary has for you this day. My brothers and sisters, today is a day for us to realize how much we are loved. Just like Mary rearranged the flowers in Juan Diego's tilma, she's been arranging our lives, whether we realize it or not. And just like she sent Juan Diego off to be her messenger to the bishop, we too are called to be Marian messengers. We too are called to give this compelling witness of faith to others. But we cannot give what we first haven't received, which is why moments like these are so precious, when we can open up our hearts in prayer and receive that gift of love, that compelling witness that we can share with those that we worry about the most. It's a great honor to be with all of you on this pilgrimage. May God bless you. May Mary keep you.